Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. Japan, Belgium. Belgium win the game by the skin of their teeth. How did they do it? Did they deserve to win? And what went wrong for Japan? Here at the interviews, we've got you covered. So on this edition of the interviews, we're going to briefly break down how Belgium beat Japan. So when we briefly break down Belgium's last-minute win over Japan, we have to look at the direct play. Both sides playing very direct, struggling to create chances from open play when either side sat a bit deeper, relying on the counterattack, relying on space in behind the defense, specifically in wide areas, and it led to arguably the best game of the tournament so far. When we break it down, we got Belgium 3-4-2-1, Lukaku ahead of Mertens and Hazard. You had Meunier and you had Carrasco as wingbacks in the midfield, Witsel and De Bruyne. You look at Japan 4-2-3-1, no real surprises. Osako ahead of Kagawa on the flanks, Haraguchi and Inui, Hasebe and Shibasaki in midfield. What went right? What went wrong? Well, Japan started the game very well. They had a very good first half. No one expected them to really play a bit higher and kind of press from the front, but they did that, kind of preventing Belgium from building out the back. They didn't want De Bruyne to get on the ball. They didn't want Witsel to get on the ball, but it was a bit of a gamble as well. When we look at the pros of that, we see the front four pressing. We see Osako stepping to one center back, and Nui and Haraguchi pressing to the outside center backs. Then you'd have Kagawa drop on the deepest midfielder, whether it be De Bruyne or Witsel dropping in. You'd have the fullbacks push onto the wingbacks. But the big problem there was although Belgium struggled to build out the back on certain occasions, it allowed players such as Mertens, who was intelligent, to just dart into the channels. Lukaku dart into the channels. You push into that channel, you drag a center back out of position. If they're able to hold it up and get onto the ball, then that leads to chances. We saw Lukaku drift out over there on one occasion, dragging a defender out of position, and that was key. And it was just a warning sign because there was space available for Belgium to exploit when they did press that way, and it was a big issue for Japan on certain occasions. But Belgium didn't really get anything going from central areas. A lot of it came down the flanks. They were looking to get forward. It was Mertens in the first half, often getting into that space, delivering great crosses into the box for Lukaku that he was unable to get onto. Lukaku struggled in the first half, and besides that, Belgium weren't really getting anything going, but there was a fear for them as well, because when the press wasn't on and they dropped off a bit deeper into their two banks before Japan, what we saw were the wing backs push higher. And like I said, the biggest issue with this Belgian side is that, one, Carrasco's not a wing back, so you can exploit space there. There were times where Carrasco was as high as Lukaku, and you just have to question and think, why is he there? What about when Japan, or let's say a better side, they play Brazil next, get on the ball and break down that space? Because that is an issue for them. They're a bit lopsided. It doesn't really work out. So that space is there, and then you have space in the channels for the opposing team to get onto and make a difference. However, in the first half, although Japan did very well in terms of getting on the ball, we saw Osako drop deep on several occasions, linking play with his teammates like he's done all tournament, move into the channels to get onto the ball and allow his teammates to get forward. Hasebe and Shibasaki dropped a bit deeper to get on the ball throughout. But Japan's main goal, they were constantly trying to get Inui in behind the defense. We know that he's the attacker that plays a bit higher, opposed to Haraguchi, who did at times tuck into midfield to help out. He's the hard worker. They constantly try to get that outlet ball out to Inui, trying to play him in behind the space. It wasn't really working out for him. There was actually one play where it was Kagawa who drifted out to that space, and it was Shibasaki who played a long ball, and he instantly turned the defender Meunier, delivered the cross into the box for Osako, and what happened was that it fell to Courtois and he almost let it into his own net. But that's where they were really getting their chances. You look at it, the Shibasaki and Hasebe were dropping deeper to get on the ball. Nagatomo and Sakai were pushing forward, and it was a bit of a worry because, again, like we said, this Belgian side is very good in transition as they dropped off into their narrow 5-4-1. But they weren't really pressing well. They allowed Japan to get onto the ball. Japan were controlling possession well, and that was key. The second half, things obviously changed. Japan scored 2 early goals, and what it is basically all in the transition. It's Mounier trying to break forward, like we said. He's trying to push forward in those wider areas. He does. He loses the ball, and Nui wins it. He finds Shibazaki, who then slides the ball into Haraguchi behind, again, in that space behind Vertonghen. He's able to run in on goal. Vertonghen recovers, but he fires a shot into the net. The next opportunity, a long ball into Osako. Company wins it, but it falls to Kagawa. Kagawa then tees up Inui 2-0. Just like that, Japan finally exploiting the space, finally getting onto the fact that Witsel and De Bruyne aren't destroyers in midfield. Kagawa in the second half was terrific. Simply not the best Isco impersonation, but he did a very good job drifting out to the flanks, linking play. They never picked him up, dropping into spaces here, dropping into spaces in half spaces and wide areas, getting the ball between the lines. You saw him combine on several occasions with the wider players, trying to combine with Osako. When Honda came on, he combined with him as well. He was linking play. He was playing passes into those key areas. The problem was they just weren't getting shots on goal. Again, second half, you had Nagatomo pushing forward on the overlap. You had Sakai delivering cross into the box. Some went to Osako. They were cleared last ditch effort. One instance, you saw Sakai combine, overlap, cross into the box. Courtois kicks it away. They were retaining possession. They were doing a very good job of that. And then they were dropping deeper. Again, 2 banks of 4. This time, not pressing high. They had Kagawa and Osako sitting on Witsel and De Bruyne, ensuring that they couldn't get the ball. And then you had Shibazaki and Hasebe looking to press forward if they got onto the ball, but they did a good job in the second half of stopping Hazard and Mertens from occupying those spaces. They like to drift into those center spaces, hit you on the half turn, try to play intricate passes with Lukaku. They were stifled out. They took turns. Hazard trying to drift in, Shibazaki following, Hasebe picking him up as well. Mertens was anonymous in the second half. So what happens after that? They make changes. They bring on Fellaini. They bring on Chadli. The Chadli introduction didn't really change much, but the Fellaini option did. He played a bit higher. They had another option, penalty box presence in the box. Then you had Mounier still pushing forward down the right, delivering good crosses, 2 in particular to Lukaku. He should score. He doesn't, but Mounier was a live threat. But when you look at the goals that Belgium score, Vertonghen's fortuitous header, that beats Kawashima. You look at Hazard on the half turn, gets across into the box for Fellaini. Then you get the counter attack in the final minutes. But throughout that, Belgium just weren't really creating chances. Crosses into the box. They had the aerial advantage in terms of height. They exploited that, so you got to give them credit there. The substitutes scored, but this Belgian side, there's still issues that they need to solve. You saw Yamaguchi come in, you saw Honda come in for Japan. Felt like the substitutions were a bit too late. That was a big issue. They looked tired. It didn't look like they were able to score another goal once Belgium tied up the game. But when you look at what they did well, balls in behind the wing backs, they got Osako involved in the game. Kagawa was not picked up, so he was integral to what they were doing. And these are things that Belgium need to improve. Space in the wide areas, the midfield pairing of Witsel and De Bruyne. We don't know De Bruyne's role. They can't really stop midfield runners. They had no idea of how to pick up Kagawa, and that's going to be a big issue against Brazil. And again, the left wing back, just not really doing it there. And if teams sit a bit deeper like Brazil did today and clog that space with a powerful midfield, what are Hazard and Mertens going to do? It felt like a game where De Bruyne should have played a bit higher, possibly for where Mertens was to deliver better cross into the box, but Belgium weren't that great here. You got to give them respect for coming back, being down 2-0. But when you look at it, Japan had a lot of chances to end this game. And we still don't know how good this Belgium side is or if this is what they really are. But let me know what you guys think. Meet me in the comments below. Don't forget I upload videos every day. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And that was your daily dose of the interviews.